All right, sir. Dr. Whitfield, I'm sorry.
You remember when I said that? I meant that thing, man. I meant it.
All right. Council will come back into session. Dr. Whitfield, item 3.01.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item has been carried over from and updated from the meeting last Monday. The item is discussion on the proposed interlocal agreement with PwC for the additional $8.3 million transfer for the city for COVID-related support of general fund revenue loss. On Wednesday of last week, June the 25th, the commissioners of PwC unanimously approved and executed the revised version of the interlocal agreement in response to the city's request for the additional cash contributions. In addition, prior to the meeting on Wednesday, city staff submitted a list of all CARES funding received over the last several months, which was a total of $14.3 million, as part of our process to request waivers for relief funds outside of the FAST and the airport monies, which was already covered. The total of that was $2.4 million in addition. The commission voted unanimously to approve the additional waivers, thus accepting the city's rationale that these funds should not be considered as credits against the cash contribution request in the interlocal agreement. Of course, this approval is contingent upon City Council's approving and executing the agreement prior to June 30th of this year, which is in a day. Staff is recommending that Council authorize the execution of the proposed interlocal agreement as currently written, with the understanding of potential future reductions for anticipated $4 million transfer based upon clarification of the relief funds, which is what that waiver was about, per the agreement. And of course, we'll have an additional opportunity to go through the waiver request process.
All right, thank you, Dr. Whitfield. Any questions? I think this was just a matter of some wordsmithing, which city manager, Mr. Trago, and they worked through that about the exclusion of COVID funds from last week. So you need a motion to what? Adopt it? Authorize the execution by the city manager? All right, Council, I'll look to you for action. The PwC liaison, Councilmember Davis.
Yes, I just want to say before I make the motion that I do appreciate the help that Dr. Whitfield, Mr. Hewitt, Mr. Trago, and everyone is put into working out these small glitches in what we're trying to do and what the PwC commissioners have assisted us, as well as the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem for helping out. With that being said, I'd like to make the motion that we approve item 3.01. It is the authorization for the mayor to execute the City Public Works Commission interlocal agreement.
There's a motion by Councilman Davis. There's a second by Councilmember Wright to approve the PwC interlocal agreement discussion phase. I too would like to thank Chairwoman Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioners Huff, Rogers, and Fowler for their partnership with the COVID related expenditures. So, all right, Council. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, I'm sorry, I did not have your lights on, Council. So if you were pressing lights, I didn't see it. All right, the discussion. These were discussion lights. Okay, yes. Council member. I don't know who came first. I'll go with Councilmember Waddell and then Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to second the note of thanks to the PwC commissioners for their approval of this particular funding request. I would like to say that based upon the conversations that we've had about the additional expenditures to our budget that will be coming out of fund balance, I will probably not vote in the affirmative for this particular action, and I just want to go on record as indicating that that's why. Not because I'm not appreciative. Commissioners, I do thank you. It's very much appreciated, but because of the fact that we are yet finding money to be able to do other projects, I just question if if we're going about our budget expenditures in the right fashion and if we're being financially responsible. And so that is, if I vote in the negative, that would be the reason for that vote. And I just wanted to make sure that for the purposes of the viewing audience and for public record that I stated that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hare.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Telly, the 4 million, that's the contribution toward the items that we sent over to them that we were falling slack in, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir? Okay. The 4.325, though I do understand it, please speak in the mic to the folk that are listening of what that amount is, and is not considered a loan, but an advance on what we normally would be receiving, and whenever the time comes for us to receive those dollars in the years to come, we're getting them now in advance.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So you
please
said it
do.
very eloquently.
Speaking to the microphone, real loud.
The $4 million, the first $4 million, would be the cash contribution. That's the emergency cash contribution, which would be over $1 million technically in this fiscal year, $3 million in the upcoming fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The $4.3 million that was referenced, as you rightfully said, is the advance on the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, that we received from PwC already.
Now, is that, whenever we get that amount of money, how do we get it? Do we get the the 4.325, or do we get it?
It would be over monthly installments
Okay,
if
so,
we ask for it. As of right now, staff is recommending that we do not move forward with that advance.
okay, well, I didn't hear that because I wasn't supporting that, so I won't even go with my other questions. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Right. All right. And if that becomes a need, then I guess you'll come back to us for some
We'd
action.
come back
Okay.
before council.
All right. So there's a motion by Councilman Davis. There's a second by Councilmember Wright. We've had discussion. Council, look to you for your votes to authorize the manager to execute this.
But he's executing the 4 million.
He's executing the agreement, which says that all we're drawing on is the $4 million. Before he does any further action, he'll
Make
come
sure
back.
I'm
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, but it's the council's action, so whether that's okay. All right, Councilman Hare, I need your.
Yes, sir.
All right. Councilman. Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, that carries 9-1. Those voting in favor: Councilman Davis, Dawkins, Banks, McLaughlin, Wright, Colvin, Jensen, Ingram, Hare, and Kinston. Those voting in opposition: Councilmember Waddell. All right.
And just to follow up with that, because I want to be sure for myself, Dr. Telly, so whenever or if it becomes a discussion of the 4.325 for us to receive, we're going to have that discussion ahead of time and vote on that.
I'm not signing anything else until y'all vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't care what Doug says.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Doug.
No, I'd make sure the mayor signed it. That's, as you can tell. The motion is to approve the budget. Are y'all ready? So we will go through this. The budget was released to the City Council on May 21st and formally presented to the Council on the 26th. The document has been available for public review in the office of the City Clerk and on the city's website. The required public hearing on the budget was conducted on Monday, June the 8th. Council has deliberated the recommended budget at 2 special budget work sessions and at a regular council meeting, which are shown on the screen. Council provided consensus direction on June 8th for changes to the recommended budget and subsequent changes through email, for which staff has incorporated the revisions that follow for adoption of the budget. Employee bonus adjustment is a change of $214,930. The description is to increase the employee bonus amount from $1,500 to $1,700 and add a one-time public safety bonus for differential pay between the $1,700 and the proposed salary increase amount, so that all employees are guaranteed to at least get $1,700 either through regular salary increases or a portion of a bonus, and to extend the eligibility to the council, city manager, and city attorney. And I'm happy to stop and go with any of these. but I won't read them all to you. We've also have $124,000 to enhance litter collection efforts, $35,000 to enhance awareness and education regarding littering and recycling. State lobbyist was an action that council took with Kilpatrick Townsend, which was $61,000. And as you'll see on a later slide, originally council had allocated $400,000 to do 2 extensive side work projects. In conversation with some members of council, in particular the mayor, we realized that there was no money in the upcoming budget dedicated for racial equality and community healing, all of the work that we've been talking about doing. And so the proposal would be to split the $400,000 and put $200,000 here for initiatives to be determined by council. And then again, $200,000 for additional sidewalks from Trainer Drive to Delaware Drive to Levy Drive. The homelessness initiative would be $50,000 additional and added funding for initiatives that would come back to council to be approved before that money is spent, as well as $80,000 for poverty initiatives to provide funding to communities in school for a student support specialist position in support of Pathways for Prosperity's comprehensive action plan. Also, those expenditures coming from general fund would be $965,770.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we do have a couple questions.
Okay,
Hold on there.
Yeah, I will go through this
Clint
really,
Eastwood,
really
hold on a
quickly.
second. So we've got Hare Dawkins.
And as Dr. Whitfield mentioned, we're looking at adjustment to timing of the PWC supplemental transfer for COVID-19, as well as a fund balance appropriation net impacts to be added as an offset to the timing of the adjustments. And with the proposed changes to projected general fund balance at June 30, 2020 will be 12.08, which again is above your 12% goal and 10% policy. You are $3.6 million above your policy, which is 10%. The only adjustments for other funds that relate to the increase in employee bonuses are from the $1,500 to the $1,700. The total cost of the impact on the budget on the bonus adjustment, including differential bonuses for public safety, is $244,000. The cost funded by increased fund balance or net asset appropriations, increased transfers from general fund, or from reduction of miscellaneous expenditures projected to balance total expenditures to total revenues. Now, that's a Tracy Broyles sentence, if ever you've heard one. And I'll be happy to let her come up and talk for 30 minutes about exactly what that means. But this is the one that I think we focus on the most, which really talks about from the recommended budget that we've provided to you into the revised budget, how the total across all funds now is $234 million versus $233. Again, that was the $900,000 additional changes that we looked at. The following fee schedule change reflects direction received at the council's June 8th meeting to adjust the proposed fee schedule included in the recommended budget. Primarily, it is related to the public records request response. That was one of the issues that the council brought out as one of the fee schedule changes. Less than 4 hours, there would be no charge. Any work that would require 4 hours or greater, each hour beyond the 4 would be billed based on the current compensation rate for an OA2, and the hourly cost shared at a time of records, but an amount not to exceed a maximum charge of $750 per request. The Murchison Road Redevelopment Project is increased by $300,000, as we talked about before, which would allow us to provide for the acquisition of the former V-Point Grocery and the demolition of both V-Point Grocery and Amen Auto. As we mentioned just a moment ago, there's also sidewalk improvements increased for $200,000. There are $20,000 in NCDOT municipal agreements for the Rowan Street Bridge project, and the timing of the ERP replacement project expenditures are adjusted based on the current timeline for this project. Essentially, some things we thought we would get done this year, we didn't, and we're just moving some of those expenses into an upcoming year. But that project still remains on time and on budget. Council is asked to adopt the following items through a motion after questions. Fiscal year 2021 budget ordinance, the fiscal year 2021 fee schedule, fiscal year 2021 strategic plan, fiscal years 2021 through 2025 capital and technology improvement plans, capital project ordinance 2021 through -1 through 2020-13, capital project ordinance amendments 2021-1 through 2020-25, and Special Revenue Fund Project Ordinance Amendment 2021-1. And I'm available, as always, to answer any questions that you might have. But
All right.
before we do that, Mayor, I would like to again thank the entire budget staff headed by Tracy Broyles and Kelly and all of the staff members in budget and evaluation, as well as the members of the management team, for their tireless work in trying to get this budget ready for you tonight. Been a lot of late nights and a lot of weekend phone calls that we've had working with Zoom technology and things like that to get to where we are tonight. But again, Tracy and Kelly and to your whole staff, thank you very much for all your work.
I just want to say Ms. Broyles threatened me outside in the lobby that if I didn't get this, that we didn't get this done tonight. She's got one day before it's due. All right, Councilman Hare.
Thank you, Mayor. I had sent out an email, as many of us did, that I wanted to be very protective of our fund balance as we move into the hurricane season. So one of my questions has been answered. The $965,770 of those parking lot items have us down to 12.08.
Yes, sir.
Right? So we just haven't done it yet, but you're going to add the $4 million.
It's already baked in.
PWC.
It's already baked in.
Two of it.
No, it's baked in. We were looking at
Wow.
getting $1 million in the current fiscal year, which will stabilize your fund balance, and then we're also looking at the appropriation. As you may recall, we anticipated we would get $4 million, and when we were here last Monday? Last Monday, there was some question about what would be included in the PWC agreement as relief funds and what would not. And because, so we're in a good place.
Okay. So I'm thinking I'm getting ready to add me $4 more million. It's going to take me to 16 point whatever, but you saying that it's already in there because you already knew that we was going to say yes, we was going to accept it.
Yes, sir. And had
Okay,
we
so
not gotten
then
that,
our
we would've been
12
below
million, then our fund balance, as we go into the season, is the 12.08 million. Okay.
12, no, not 12.8 million, 12%.
12%.
Okay, right.
20-something
Yeah. So that in, yes, and that in the dollars is what? Is it 21 million something? Okay, I was misunderstanding. Just help me be happy.
Yeah, 21,000,
20
21 million.
21 million.
Thousand. Yes.
Okay, I'm fine.
And just to put some context in that, the state has a minimum of 8%.
On a different
The council has a council policy of 10%.
Yes, sir.
And we are at 12%. So we're 4% of the budget above the minimum state average. So
I
that's
feel
pretty
better.
healthy.
I'm okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, Councilman Dawkins.
And thanks to our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, on the fee schedule, besides the public records request, the fee schedule is 24 pages long.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what all we've missed. We may not have missed anything.
We have it, but they were minimal. That was the one that drew the most attention from council, though.
Yes. So I don't want to get calls. So overall, there's no really major changes in any of the other fee structures. That we didn't double anything. We didn't take anything up 50%. I don't want any of the council members getting ambushed. Hey, you raised this fee for swimming from $5 to $30. Or you raised the fee for the splash pad from $2 to $12. I mean, as long as you tell me we're good, then I'm good and I'm ready to vote. Or actually, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, good. Just I know you've been ready for
Oh, wow.
a few minutes. So just let me get a couple more questions in, and I'm coming back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Waddell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to be redundant and repeat everything that I said last Monday at the onset of our budget conversation, but I will ask the viewing audience, if you have any questions, call me about my perspective and position, or go back and watch that video. But I will ask specifically a couple of things about this budget. First, the $1,700 add-on one-time bonus. So now we went from $1,500 and it just being staff to like staff and public safety, to now $1,700 and including city council members and city manager and city attorney, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for the purposes of, again, the viewing audience and for my counterparts on the council, I am not amenable to that for us. I understood why we did it for our staff and for public safety because we were not able to increase their salaries this year, and we wanted to ensure that they were still getting a benefit and a boost. But given again our bootstrap approach that I feel we should be taking, like that tightening of the purse that I feel we should be taking, I'm not necessarily amenable to that. And I've sent this in email if I'm not mistaken, but I'm just reiterating again for the purposes of the watching audience. The homelessness initiative, I'm fine with that. The poverty initiative, the P4P, the 80,000, I've shared my concerns about that. That's on that prior video. Also, the Environmental Services Fund. I think I either read in the paper or saw an email that passed where Mr. Mayor was asking if that $35 increase per resident could be used, per household, could be utilized to change out the bins and move to bi-weekly recycling service. Is that something that has been discussed and is being implemented in this budget, or are we still using that $35 fee increase to bring that environmental services fee into self-sufficiency?
Self-sufficiency, but that is something that we are planning to bring back to council in August or September. What we hope will be some policy and service clarity.
Okay.
Even tonight, there was some conversation about the folks who may have 3 green carts.
Right.
And if we're going to go through the process of replacing the green carts.
And I got you.
yeah.
And I'll say this. I was listening to the 4 o'clock meeting, although I was not in attendance. And I thought that Councilmember Kinston's idea was spot on with those stickers. I was on the phone with my best friend when you said it, and I said, that right there, we both were like, that's the move. And then the final point that I'd like to make is that, again, to the viewing audience, should I not vote in agreement with this budget? It is for 2 reasons. First of all, because I believe that we need to be extremely financially responsible right now and tighten our purse straps. And then secondly, because it is not because I'm not in agreement with these bonuses and the wonderful things that we're doing in terms of being able to help out our staff and our public safety servants, public safety personnel in terms of these bonuses. It's simply because I believe that we are in an uncharted territory with COVID-19. We do not know what to expect in terms of our tax revenues. And I just want to make sure that I just want us to be responsible with this money. And I just don't see that we've done that in as much as all of these this almost $1 million of expenditures that we're taking on outside of the balanced budget that you presented with the other options before we got to that parking lot of things that we talked about. But I think that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ingram.
Thank you. So I've recognized that we have a lot of citizens who are tuning in nowadays who not necessarily would have kind of been tuning in to know what's going on. And so if you don't mind, City Manager, first could you explain the fund balance and the 12% that Councilmember Hare was speaking of earlier, and also give us some for the last, I guess, 3 budgets, what our percentage was of the fund balance, and then where we are today. That's my first piece, if you can do that real quick for me.
Yes, fund balance is simply probably most easily announced as your savings account. You set that money aside. Some of it, as the mayor said, is statutorily required. In order for you to issue debt, the state requires you to maintain an 8% fund balance. It's a minor point, but it is a slightly different calculation than the 10 and 12%, but we'll go with that. And that, as we commonly say, is the floor. But council has established a 10% goal, policy rather, and which is your floor, 10%, and then you've established a 12% goal. And so that's 12% of your expenditures that you would like to have available, unencumbered, for you to spend as needed. And it helps with such things as the opportunity we find ourselves with now, where we had 2 sidewalk projects for $400,000. It helps us if we have an opportunity to invest in something that is a late-breaking issue. It also helps us float if we have a hurricane or have some other type of natural disaster. It is because we have a fund balance and a healthy fund balance. It's the same with PwC and even the county, that when we came in and we saw our sales tax revenue softening earlier this year because of COVID, we weren't as worried about not making payroll.
Okay.
And so that's what the fund balance really does allow you to do. And I say this for the people watching, it is fund, F-U-N-D, not F-U-N. It's, I can tell you I actually had a reporter come to me one time and say, I don't understand the fund balance. And I mean, it's easy because we say it so much that people don't know. As we talked about the goal of 12%, I can't remember, and I'll turn to Tracy, that we've ever presented a budget in the last 5 years that wasn't over 12? Yeah.
So it's always, for the most part, been at 12%.
Or above. And that is generally seen by this council as a healthy ratio. This year, we're drawing almost $9.3 or $9.5 million down from fund balance to the budget. The numbers change because we've taken out the additional $965,000. And years past, we've always taken money from savings for one-time things to balance the budget. But as a litmus test, just like you would if you go into the doctor and he takes your blood pressure, he takes your temperature, your fund balance could be seen as one of the vitals of an organization. And having a 12%, particularly for an agency our size, is seen as a healthy organization.
Thank you. So my next question will be, given the items that we have, the updates, I will say some of the pieces I don't fully agree with on here. I think I remember talking with you when COVID-19 hit, and I said, well, I'll, sacrifice my salary as a council member if that needs to be happened. So some of the pieces, but I can say that I'm okay with the budget. So I want to say, looking forward at the next budget, how confidential, like in the confidence of this budget, looking at the next budget, do you think we will be able to continue to implement programming such as racial equality and community, poverty initiatives, homeless initiatives, really working towards our sidewalks, things that directly impact our community on a day-to-day basis, moving forward, because as Councilmember Waddell and others have said, we don't know what COVID will bring us. And so I just want to, I guess, be proactive and say, how confident are we with looking at the next budget?
The things that this council or upcoming councils are going to have to deal with really are around employee wage issues. 2 years ago, we talked about having a living wage for the city. And what does that mean? What does that translate into? I think it was a real shock for many members of this council that when you were doing the rental assistance programs, to realize that a single police officer could qualify for rental assistance under the programs that you have. Even with, single family, particularly if it's a parent and a child. Because it's not saying that you don't pay them a lot, it is just that poverty and some of those things can be that pervasive rather. And so I think in the upcoming years, we're going to have to look at the employees, at employee pay, to make sure it's equitable and it actually provides a living wage for folks to enjoy the amenities that we're building. Number two, the council has expressed an interest and a need for us to look at infrastructure. That is something that, and that's why when I look at the proposed changes that you've made here to $965,000, I think it tells a story. What's on your screen right now is you believe in your employees. That's the $214,000 up and beyond the $2.4 million that you did for fire, police, and 911 salary enhancements, as well as the other monies that you'd already done for the $1,500 for those other employees. You believe in a beautiful community. That's the enhanced litter crews. You also believe in that citizens should own this, that we can't keep it clean by ourselves. That's why you're doing $35,000 with sustainable sandhills so that we aren't always picking up the trash. We want to stop people from putting the trash out. We want to encourage more citizen involvement. The state lobbyists, we can't do this alone, so you've got to try to find resources elsewhere. The racial equity and community healing, I would hope that that would be something that, it may not be called that, but I hope it's something that we can point to in our budget in upcoming years that really speaks to who we are and how we come together as one community. I think that's what recent times has taught us.
City-
Sidewalks, I'm running through it real quick. And the homeless initiative
Yeah,
piece
yeah,
as
hey.
well. I'm trying to help y'all sell this budget. And that's the point
The
that
sale is
I
over.
wanted
It's
to
time to
make,
act.
that I wanted to make to y'all. And I want to ask your question, Mr. Dawkins, as well. I've gone back through and looked at the fee schedule. The fees that are more in line with where they were in other municipalities really are in fire. And so there will be some, probably several, that the total impact of all of those changes are about $78,000 of increased revenue. But we're basically creating some line items where there were none before to put us more in line with other municipalities our size. But I'm very happy with the budget, and I'm very happy to convey it for your motion or additional questions.
Okay,
you, sir.
so I want, just to wrap it up to the listening audience, I asked him I asked him those questions because I wanted the listening audience and our new listening audience to understand, though that we are experiencing these budget impacts, we as a city are still doing what we can within our power to move the city forward and really identify opportunities within the communities that directly impact you. So I just want the citizens to be aware that we are walking this forward slowly and at a small number, but we are making those efforts with what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Wright.
Yes, City Manager, I just want to start off by saying thank you and your staff for a good budget. When we're looking at 12%, we're looking at over $21 million in a healthy fund balance, FUND. And so with all the things that we have encountered with COVID and all the other challenges that we've had, I think we're in a good place. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. All right. Councilmember Kinsler.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager, first of all, thank you so much for all your work that you placed in and the staff as well. One of the things I would also like to do is thank the citizens that did send emails with concerns, questions, asking about the budget, and making sure that they were involved in the process. It was not an easy process. As a new council member, there's been several meetings, just questioning and verifying information. But I do want to make sure that they do understand that those emails were read and going into the budget. Like I said, there are some things that were some concerns. You've already pointed out, that I was going to definitely ask about living wages. So I appreciate that without a doubt. But I do want to just recognize the citizens and thank them for their input going into this budget. Appreciate it.
All right. So, council, I think we've made our rounds. I will end it right before I ask you for a motion. I think Councilman Dawkins has been waiting on this since last Thursday to make this motion. But
Mr. Manager, I do have a couple questions.
I thought you. Are you ready for the motion? Okay. So, Mr. Manager, let me say this before I go to Councilman Dawkins. I know you've been thanked. We really thank you and the finance team particularly for keeping a good, healthy organization in spite of everything that we've gone through and continuing to invest in our community and our people, because you have a little bit of everything in this budget, for poverty initiatives to partnerships to, most of all, putting extra money in the pockets of our employees, and we say thank you for that. So, Councilman Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things, Mr. Manager. I wanted to make sure a lot of folks are concerned about the property tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with the property tax rate?
It is remaining the same, and the only fee that substantive fee that we look at in the big ones is the solid waste fee, again, to make that enterprise fund self-sufficient. Your tax rate, property tax rate is staying the same. The bus fares are staying the same. Stormwater fee is staying the same, and there is an increase in the solid waste fee.
Now, this is maybe a little too detailed, my last question before I'm going to make a motion, but my understanding is I compared our police step pay with the county deputies setup, and it appears the county deputy starting pay is still higher than our starting police pay. Is that accurate?
And not really. They have a special entry rate that, for lateral moves, But what we tried to do was that after your first year, you are at that higher level. So I think the starting is at 38? 38 even. And Chief, if you, this is a huge issue for you guys, and if you just let the
Well,
Chief speak to that really.
Our police are working mighty hard, and I want to make sure we're in line with what the county is doing.
Yes, sir. The starting rate, just like a new cadet's, 38 even, and then after that, the increase is going to be $17.50 at each step. So after 1 year, you'll be at $39,750.
And the sheriff deputies start them at 39, I'm told.
Yes, right at 39.
So we're
maybe-
technically still a bit below, but it's getting closer. We
never-
made up a lot of difference,
we,
delta.
We are at market.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. At market, I want to make sure our citizens hear that. Okay, now this stipend that some of the folks are talking about, what the county did is they're paying every single employee $1,700 along with the commissioners, along with their management leadership staff. So what we did, I'm more about being equal than fair. And so we're going to equalize what the county is doing, because what people may consider to be fair to some people may not be fair to somebody else. So we're equal on our stipend. Now, yes, they make over $30,000 a year as commissioners, and we make 17 or 18. So we're still 12,000 behind, and that's not fair, and we can look at that. But then the other thing, like Council Lady Kinston points out a bunch, we want to get to that living wage. And so did the mayor point that out. So that's going to be your task this next budget. Okay.
Second that.
All right, we don't want our employees to be treated less than what the county treats their employees. I want our city employees to know that we appreciate what they're doing. So, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that, if it pleases the council, that we adopt the fiscal year 2021 budget ordinance, 2021 fee schedule, 2021 strategic plan, 21 to 25 capital technology improvement plans, 21 through 20 capital project ordinance amendments 2021-1 to 2020-25, and special revenue project ordinance amendment 2021-1.
Whew, okay. There's a motion of what Councilman Dawkins just said. There's a second by Councilmember Wright. I do have a couple questions on discussion. Councilwoman Ingram, brief discussion. All right, praise him. Councilman Hare. Okay, all right.
I was on the board, but that's fine. I think
Yours was a second,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You were on the board with a question?
No, that was a second, but it's
Okay,
Let
all
him-
right. Councilmember Waddell?
Let him have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure that I'm very clear that I do support the $1,700 bonus for our employees, and I do support much of what the budget contains. I simply have an issue with the fact that I don't feel like we're doing enough to be responsive to the shortfall that our budget may experience as a result of the coronavirus and COVID-19. And so my vote tonight is not based upon the fact that I do not support those things. It's simply going to be based upon the fact that I think that we have a responsibility to be a little bit more fiscally conservative this year around than we have been in the past. And I think maybe this is my third budget, and I think we were a little bit more fiscally financially conservative in some of the other budgets, and we weren't facing COVID-19. But I'm prepared to vote, and I thank you for giving me an opportunity to clarify.
Thank you. All right, Council, we've had our is that discussion or you voting, Chris? Was that a vote? Oh, okay. All right, Council, I look to you for your votes. Madam Clerk, that is 9-1. Those voting in favor of the budget: Councilman Davis, Dawkins, Banks, McLaughlin, Wright, Colvin, Jensen, Ingram, Hare, Kinston. Voting in opposition: Councilmember Waddell. Motion to adjourn. Y'all have a good one. Listening audience, we will see you in August. The council will not meet in July unless something comes up, but have a safe summer.